You're welcome to Business Daily on Trust TV. I am your host, Chamun Dabeng. Let's talk numbers. Let's take a look at what the market says this morning. You're welcome back to Business Daily. Once again, my name is Chamun Dabeng. Well, Nigeria has a rich history of being Africa's largest oil producer with a production capacity of 2.5 million barrels per day. However, Nigeria has struggled to meet up with OPEC Plus demands as the country's output has been languishing below 1.55 million barrels per day. Of recent, big oil firms have moved their eyes towards Libya's energy space, and they're putting in money into that space to improve that energy supply. Now, this means that attention is now moving from Nigeria's oil market into Libya. And what does this now mean for the Nigerian economy? Now, joining me in the studio is political economist Adefolarin Olamilekon. You're welcome to the show.
Morning.
Yes, so I hope you did see the story so far. Attention is shifting towards Libya.
Exactly.
There are two oil firms right now. That's France's Total Energies SE and Italy's NESPA that are actually putting in $2 billion into Libya's oil market.
Exactly.
And these are companies that, of course, we could definitely use their business, but they've moved towards Libya. Why do you think that is?
So many things may have resulted in this particular factor. We must first acknowledge and appreciate that in Africa and all over the world, out of the 30 major oil producing countries, Africa is a host to 5: Nigeria, Angola, Algeria, Libya, and Egypt. Now, what has really changed in this period is that Libya once upon a time was one of the leading African oil producing countries. But due to the conflict there over a decade, 10 years conflict, brought them back to the point that they're having about 390,000 barrels produced a day. But recently, in over a year, they have been able to jack it up to 1.2 billion, to the point that OPEC have to expel them out of the membership. But within this period of between March and now that a new government was installed, they have been able to carry out different reform to revitalize the energy sector, reform to change the narrative around the energy sector, and reform to bring back investors, FDI investors into their country, so that they can take advantage of technology, they can take advantage of experts, and they also take advantage of funds. I think about last week that they hosted the energy summit in Egypt, Libya, so many energy big players were there, and they all make commitment to come back to Libya. Just as you mentioned, about $2 billion is coming into Libya, two major oil companies. What does it tell to Nigeria? What does it impact to Nigeria? The major thing is this: the environment of business must be secure. We must organize ourselves in a way that our business environment must avoid huge risks. In the Nigerian narrative for exploration and production, pipeline vandalism, militancy, corruption in the sector, and the nonchalant attitude of government policy that doesn't big well on the oil companies also playing a major factor. But we must not look fact or look face that we also want to make a good ends out of our oil production and financing in Nigeria. But the major player are the oil company. The IOC, as you see them, they have the technology, they have the expertise, and they have the funding. Major NNPC investment has been a JVC, that means joint venture partner with all this IOC. So that's one of the reasons why, for say, Nigeria has been much more invested its own money and develop its own technology to bring up production and exploration of that oil company. Nobody will be blinking an eye that Libya is trying to take over. And that is where we are today.
But you talked about safety within Libya. I mean, Libya just came out of, the
Exactly,
crisis, basically.
exactly.
So how safe is it really that investors feel that, you know what, this is a good place for us to invest money?
One of the key things that brought about that safety is because from that 390 barrel they were producing, it was able to rise up to 1.2 to 1.4 million. It means there is stability condition somehow, but not guaranteed to 100%. Then two, it means that the facilities are there that were left behind are being revitalized to function very well. It also means that Libya are taking advantage of the lopsidedness on other oil producing countries in Africa like Nigeria, Angola, and the rest of them, so they can beef up their production. If you remember during Gaddafi years, all these major oil companies were there, but conflict drove them away. Now they are coming back. As they are coming back, they see new democracy. And you know one thing about democracy is that democracy gives room for capitalism. And capitalism drives through democratic capitalism.
Yeah.
And that's what they are seeing. And that's why they are coming back.
All right, so let's take a look at the proceeds, the contributions to Nigeria's GDP as of from, let's say we're taking it from 2018 down to 2021. That's quarter two of 2021. So in quarter four of 2018, it contributed 7.06% of Nigeria's GDP. And as of quarter two of 2021, it was 7.42%. So it's not that different. I mean, we do have times where it sort of went up. The highest that I can see here is 9.77, and that was quarter three of 2019. And so far since then, it's been
fluctuating.
Yes, from quarter four of 2020 was the worst at 5.8%. And you can see it's really fluctuating. There's no stability in that. And then also when you look at the proceeds, now, Nigeria's proceeds from crude oil and gas exports, that's how much we've made. In quarter one of 2021, it was just above $5 billion. Just above. Phew. And that's... They are very worrisome figures.
Exactly.
I mean, you can see the reason why, like, a lot of people are starting to turn away. Look at the reasons or the factors that we're currently facing. Like you rightly brought up, vandalism is a huge issue. There's the militants, which is a big problem also. And then you also need to take a look at the fact that the regions within that Niger Delta area, there's been a lot of lawsuits coming towards oil firms because of oil spills and all of that, and destruction
of their groundwater.
Exactly. Now, do you see Nigeria actually bouncing back from that? Because so far, looking at it, the figures are not going up, they are dropping.
Let me state this. For now, we may bounce back, we may not bounce back. Reason being that for good fact, hydrocarbon energy is expected to fade out. People are calculating 30 years. In that conference, people are calculating 20 to 30 years. But let's give it to 100 years. In the next 100 years, but people are saying 50. Some researchers are saying 50. But let me, in my own view, let's say 100 years. Because
for Nigeria's oil space to bounce back?
Not bounce back. The usage of hydrocarbon. Because bouncing back, Nigerian oil bouncing back means people are still pumping money into the investment of oil. But let's look at the range the global world is making use of hydrocarbon, fossil fuel, as we speak. So in the sense that in the next 100 years, if people are still interested in using crude oil for energy, Nigerians may bounce back. But in the next 30 years, people will reduce the usage of crude oil. That means we have to go back to renewable energy. Green energy will be the main thing. So those are the factors we have to look into. Then bouncing back also goes back to global oil price shock. If it increases, you made mention of how much we are earning. The least one you mentioned was $5 billion US. So if the price goes up, as we are witnessing now between $60 to $70, and it goes up to $100, that will make more money. But the other factor I mentioned, if the global world is interested in using crude, that means Nigeria may prepare to go into it fully and earn more money, and we may bounce back. But if the world is not is shifting away from crude oil to renewable energy and green energy, that means we may have to rethink of our energy cost.
No, but the world is already shifting. There are movements towards renewable energy.
It rightly said, but there is a cost. If you remember our last show that we discussed about gas, I think Africans have to look into the cost of going into renewable energy. The same thing goes with this one. The cost of renewable energy going into it is very, very high. And if the economy is not good, if the economy as we have it today, the crude oil economy that we're enjoying, the monoculture economy, if we don't boost it and invest into renewable energy, there's no way we can capitalize on it and enjoy it. And it goes with technology. Do we have the technology to get into it? Do we have the strategy to even manipulate and get into renewable energy? That is where we are lacking. And we still staying on crude oil means that we need to boost it. And boosting it means it depends on what the global world is saying. Are they still accepting, are they still agreeing to crude oil exploration, and the rest of them is left for us. So for Nigeria and for our business and I mean our political class and our administrator and Nigerian state, what they need to do is now to see how they can take advantage of the crude oil so that we can boost our economy, boost our energy, and be able to transmit and transit to the new narrative of renewable energy. If we don't do that, if in 20 years oil stop, nobody is interested in it, it will be very poor for us in Nigeria.
All right, so it's very difficult to actually talk about this without bringing in the discussion of foreign direct investment.
Exactly.
Because as it is, Nigeria is actually losing some of those oil firms that used to invest in the country. So we're going to be talking about that right after the break. Don't go anywhere. All right, you're welcome back to Business Daily on Trust TV. My name is Chamunda Beng, and I'm here with political economist Adefolarin Olamilekon. We're currently talking about the shift to Libya's oil market and basically Nigeria being left out of all of that. Now, I talked about Nigeria losing investment. Now, we actually have a couple of companies, oil companies that left Nigeria's market due to, quite a few factors.
Uncertainty around it.
Yes. So companies like Shell actually is currently in talks with the Nigerian government to divest all of its operated joint ventures and licenses held. And, there's also TNOG Oil and Gas, there's also Total, which operated under a joint venture partnership with Shell and Italian firm Agip Oil Company in the OML 17. And we're losing those investments. That's about 3 different companies right now, which were basically pumping in millions of dollars, or pardon me, billions of dollars actually, into Nigerian economy, and we've lost that. Like I said, Shell currently is talking to the Nigerian government about divesting or disinvesting from our oil market. Now, what does this actually mean for the economy? How on earth do we, should I say, seduce them back into, buying into our market?
Just like I said earlier, there are 2 things happening in the crude oil and the hydrocarbon energy sector globally. People are trying to shift away. They're looking for safe investment opportunity. Is renewable energy, green energy, is it very feasible? Is it very good? Can we go into it? As some analysts have said, even experts in engineering renewable energy say it's faster to create green energy and renewable energy than this hydrocarbon way of. So Nigeria now losing all those brilliant, expansive business or entity to Libya or to other countries. What it means is that we have to look inward. What has been happening to our economy? What are the things that we are even talking about that is making our economy to be a little bit fragile, uncertainty? In the news just yesterday, World Bank is trying to say that our rate strategy also foiled and bring about increase in inflation. That means there are some certainties that the government is doing that is making the people to go. They also look at the environment themselves and the activities of the oil companies. We talk about legal suit against Shell and the rest of them. It means that the activity somehow also caused problem in the host communities.
Yeah.
And they became hostile to the oil companies. So they don't have any other way to do than to go. They also look at their labor practice. The Nigerian Labour Congress, the NUC, the TSC have been claiming that majority of the oil companies normally have unfair treatment of Nigerian workers. The expatriate earn more, they earn better. But the Nigerian workers, they don't earn more. They put them on casual leaves and casual working scheme. So all these things are the things that compel them to see opportunity. And one thing that you know about these global oil companies is that they look for cheap labor and they look for great opportunities. Opportunity where they can maximize more profit and get away with whatever they want to do. But the Nigerian scenario is not giving them that opportunity for now. We can see it on the laxity of the government. We can also see it on the poor nature of this oil company being not friendly enough to the host communities. These are the 2 angles we can see it. But globally, we should appreciate that the world is shifting from hydrocarbon energy to renewable energy and green energy. And those are the things that are even shaping them. That's why you see that people like Shell are trying to divest their investment. Are they going to renewable energy? Are they going to turn their machinery into renewable energy equipment for us to be used? Are they going to buy into technology that will allow us to be able to enjoy more free air and good service for our economy? And those are the way to go. But the key thing is this. Globally, we must recognize that the economy of the world is not helping matters also because of the cost bearing on energy. That's why I see in the last 2 weeks, the US has been complaining that why is it that the prices of fuel is going up almost $2, 1.4 cents and the rest of them. So they are trying to look at what is even bringing all this cost. Because what we normally see is that the global oil company are making more profit. What about the host company, host country that are having the natural resources? And that's where Nigeria fall into. That's why we don't have much to show for the Niger Delta, even though we have corruption in NDDC and the rest of them, with the 3% they are getting from the oil company and the rest of them. But the major thing is how can we capitalize and take advantage of all this? Can Nigeria look inward with the new reform, with the PIA that is on board now? Can we now see how we can re-engineer ourselves so that we can take advantage of, even though they are shifting away, they are going away, what can we do at this point in time to revamp and to revitalize our economy so that we can get, our people can get better, our citizens can enjoy the wealth of the country. And that's the way to go. And that's where we are today.
All right, so still speaking on foreign or FDI, foreign direct investment. Now, we've been talking a lot about diversification of the Nigerian economy.
Exactly.
So at this point, looking at everything that has happened from 2020 during the pandemic era, which, by the way, affected oil prices everywhere.
Exactly.
And because that happened, it equally had an effect on us, because when it comes to countries that are very oil dependent, whenever there's any shift in that area, it will definitely have an effect on the economy, which is something we saw in 2020 and something that we're still seeing till now and still trying to come back. Now, looking at these lessons, isn't it time for us to actually move past dependency on oil and start focusing on other sectors? Because during that pandemic time, I believe Nigeria lost about 40% or something like that. It dropped more than 40%. So isn't it time for us to start focusing on other sectors and start growing those sectors so that we are not so oil dependent that whenever there is a shift, you know, let's say oil drops from 75 to 50
or even 30.
How do we then survive?
No, on this issue, one of the things that we are able to recommend for the government is that let us look inward. One thing that drives economy of the world is technology. We have several research institutes scattered in Nigeria. How are they marshalling, how are they harmonizing the technology doing of Nigeria so that we can impact it on the economy? Because what we have is that there's a dichotomy between our technology, our local technology development and our economy. Can we bring them together? Because what the advantage the global, all these developed countries are taking is that they have the technology to drive the economy. Now we want to diversify the economy from agriculture, non-air sector, ICT and the rest of them. The technology that drives all this economy, this sector, is not in the hands of Nigeria. Okay, we can say, okay, agriculture, we have some tools that we can produce here. Do we have modern tools? Do we have, good seeds that will enhance the fertilization and the production of fruit and as well as crops in the farm? We have to look at that. Our soil science, what much are they doing? Then we look at ICT. 99.9% of ICT product, both hardware and software, are imported. It's only, app development is the only thing we are taking advantage of. What about the other aspect of it? Then look at other sector of the economy. You see the financial sector, the fintech, and you are seeing all the technology that drive all this economy are foreign. So it's not left for Nigeria. The diversification should not just be diversification whereby we just think of paperwork and the rest of them. The key thing about Nigerian economic diversification, it must be hinged on technology. How can we synchronize, bring together our technology to impact on our economy? If we don't do that, the diversification issue will become a mirage. It will just be a dream. I give us an example. When I was on Daybreak discussion about 2-3 weeks ago, we talk about, I'll be able to highlight about the yam importation that we wanted to go. It's part of diversification through the agriculture. When the Western world, the European world now rejected our yam, the government went to sleep. What happened to our scientists in that area of agri? What happened that in the packaging of those yams, what really left the destruction of those yams that they got spoiled on the sea before they even arrive at their destination? That's the way the government is supposed to go. Look at how we can marshal our science and technology to support our economy. We have Nasani. We have several of them. They are producing equipment. They are producing technology, hardware and software. How can we marshal this into our economy? And that's the best way to go. Because we keep talking about diversification, CBN putting money into intervention, about 39 or 40 intervention programs. Without the technology to support those economy, it will become a poor thing and it will become a failure at the end of the day. So for me, as a political economist, let us see how we can bring about our technology, synchronize it, harmonize it, and synergize it with our economy. That is the best way to go.
Yeah. So I don't know if I completely agree with what you're saying, but I still believe that, all the attention that we've been given to oil, if we can actually take that level of attention and place it into other sectors, then we'll be able to, nitpick at the things that actually need to be picked out. And like you said, bring in the technology and bring in the teachings and the trainings and everything, and then let it flow.
Even the oil that we are talking about, the technology that is being used there is foreign. We created a commission in the national, what they call it, National Local Content Development Commission. What they normally do is to produce pipe for oil companies. Do they go more than that? The pipe they are even producing, the major instrument they are using, is foreign. How much is Local Content Commission agency or whatever they call themselves linking up with the institution in Nigeria? We have two petrochemical engineering university in Nigeria. What are they doing? They created those universities for the purpose of creating not just manpower, because what they ended up doing was manpower, but into research, another area they failed to do it. They have created the manpower, but the knowledge of those manpower that can be translated to edible equipment was not there. So it's now time for Nigeria to now take advantage of it, whereby we bring our technology together, we bring our economy together and work together to make Nigeria better. And that is the best way.
All right. So my last question for the day, we've talked about policies that are affecting, FDI and the oil sector itself. What kind of policies what kind of policies should the Nigerian government or the CBN work towards creating in order to invite more foreign investors into the country?
One of the key things we must first do, what about local investors? How can we harmonize them together? Because when outside people see what we are doing with our local investors, they'll be interested to partner with local investors and invest in Nigeria. All the investors that we have in Nigeria, how can we bring them together and give them a martial direction? This is what the government is trying to do. Is it through PPPA? Is it through PPPC? Whatever model they want to use, let us work on that one. Because our local investors, they are money. We just saw on the news headline that over 91 billionaires have been sanctioned by Customs Service to pay 30 billion dues. Where are they getting the money? Can the government bring these billionaires together to invest in Nigeria? By the time they invest in Nigeria, what we did in telecommunication, whereby we now have Globacom and the rest of them, major Nigerian oil company, major Nigerian billionaire will be interested in funding economy in Nigeria.
All right.
It should be an interest for foreigners to come in and partner. Not just portfolio investors that will just come to the stock market. We are not interested in that. We're talking about people that will come and invest in edible profit businesses.
All right. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time to continue the discussion. We have we're rounding up the show right now. So I would like to thank my guests in the studio. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. And to all our viewers out there, thank you so much for watching. Come back again for more Business Daily. Once again, my name is Chamun Dabeng. Let's talk numbers.